The Third Epistle to the Corinthians is a pseudepigraphical text under the name of Paul the Apostle. It is also found in the Acts of Paul, and was framed as Paul's response to the Epistle of the Corinthians to Paul. The earliest extant copy is Bodmer Papyrus X. In the West it was not considered canonical in the 4th century AD, becoming part of the New Testament apocrypha. In the East, in the Syriac Orthodox Church, Apocrypha treated it as canonical, and Ephraim the Syrian apparently accepted it as canonical, for he wrote a commentary on it. The doctrine of Adai includes it, but it was not included in the Syriac Peshitta translation of the Bible. Although part of the Oscan Armenian Bible of 1666, it was in an appendix to the Zorab Armenian Bible of 1805, which follows the Vulgate canon, and it is not currently considered part of the Armenian Orthodox New Testament. It was not part of the canon list of Anania Shrakatsi in the 7th century, but is part of the canon lists of Mekhitar of Arivank in the 13th and Gregory Tat II in the 14th. The text is structured as an attempt to correct alleged misinterpretations of the earlier 1st and 2nd epistle to the Corinthians, of which the author has become aware due to the epistle of the Corinthians to Paul. According to the preceding part of the Acts of Paul, when the letter was written, Paul was in prison on account of Stratonice, the wife of Apollophanes. In particular, the epistle seeks to correct the interpretation of the phrase, "Flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God," by which some taught that the resurrection of the dead could not be physical. Gnostics were known for quoting this part of 1 Corinthians, infuriating Christians such as Irenaeus, who wished to claim that the dead were physically, rather than spiritually, resurrected. Irenaeus remarked, "All heretics always quote this passage." It is thought that the argument of the Gnostics won so much ground that some Orthodox Christians felt the need to forge 3 Corinthians to counter them. According to the Catholic Encyclopedia, the ancient Syrian Church revered as canonical a Third Epistle of St. Paul to the Corinthians, which is accompanied by a letter from the pastors of that church, to which it is an answer. But about the beginning of the 5th century, the Syrian Church fell under the influence of the Greek, and in consequence the spurious letter gradually lost its canonical status. It was taken up by the neighboring Armenians and for centuries has formed a part of the Armenian New Testament. Latin and Greek writers are completely silent about this pseudegraph, although Greek and Latin copies have been found. It was obviously suggested by the lost genuine Pauline letter referred to in Icor v. 971. It was composed by a presbyter about 160 to 170, and is a disguised attack on some of the leading errors of Gnosticism. This correspondence long had an independent circulation, but recently it has been proved that the document was incorporated into the Acts of St. Paul.